How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And man, it's good to be back. Woo! Good to be back after yesterday. I apologize. I got so busy in the evening. I was at a Christmas party for Newsmax, and I got the opportunity to talk to several people, give them my book, Rita Cosby, Steve Forbes, Chris Ruddy, who owns Newsmax, several of the other people that are there at Newsmax. And it was Harry. No, I didn't get a book to Harry Houck. I got to get one to my buddy Harry Houck, former NYPD detective. But it was a great day yesterday. And actually, the interesting thing was Monday was actually more like the launch of the book. I did more interviews on Monday than I did yesterday, but actually got to be on with Sean Hannity yesterday, and he did he wrote the foreword to the book, so we talked about that for about 10, 15 minutes, and also on Andrew Wilcox's show. So it was a great launch. And it's only going to get better because this month, and I'll explain it to you, this month is going to be big. I'm going to explain it to you. Let's get started. Booyah! How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Alrighty. So, as you can see, I don't even have any books right here because I gave them all out. I had to give out, I actually have two over here that, the first one that I got, that I pulled out of a box, and then also the first one, I think I bought the first one that was, purchased out of, I'm trying to fix these cords. It was purchased, from Barnes & Noble from the store. So, I've got those books. I guess I could put those over here, but so the book is selling good. Right now we're around 400, in the mid 400s on the bestseller list. But that's all going to change because I'm going to still have my Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon hits on Hannity's show. I'm also going to be, today's Wednesday. I'm losing track of the day. So tomorrow I'm going to be on David Webb's show and then Hannity's show tomorrow. And then I'm hosting Sean Hannity's radio show on the 21st of December, Andrew Wilkow's on the 22nd of December, and then on the 26th and 27th, I'll be hosting David Webb's show, and then on the 29th, I'll be hosting Sean Hannity's radio show again. So this is going to be a big, big month for this book, and rightfully so because people need it. I think we've been getting, a lot of people have been giving me feedback. So here's what I need everybody else to do. Your feedback to me is very, very helpful, but what I need you to do is if you've ordered this book on Amazon, go and review it. And I won't tell you what review to give me, 1 to 5 stars. Give your truth, and if you get some insight and you understand what I'm trying to teach in this book, then definitely just give a little blurb about that and let people know. You don't have to go into a long, thing about how we may or may not know each other and stuff and all that. You just go in there and just give your 2 cents about why it's important and if it was a good read or not. And that's what I think people are going to want to see in order to buy that book. I'm going to talk about something else here in just a second because it's interesting some of the things that have happened. There has been already some attacks by leftists. I'll talk about that in a second. And one of them left a nastygram on Amazon and as a 1-star rating. And listen, if somebody doesn't like the book and they give me a 1-star rating, I'm fine. Listen, I'm fine with that. I would hope that they would reconsider that and look at the importance of the book. I'm not going to lie. I don't think so that's the first book I've ever written. I don't think in this book, it's not a novel. In this book, the writing is actually less important than the message, I believe. I did my best. I had some great editors. I spread it around amongst all my close friends that that do that type of work, and they edited it very well for me. So a lot of different. I think my friend Jennifer found I did misspell Libya once. That did get through all the editors. So like 5 people edited this book, and so Libya is spelled wrong once in there. So that's okay though. But as I was saying, it's not necessarily the writing of the book. I don't want to be panned by about the writing, but the content and what you can learn from the book, I know that's in there because as an expert in targeting and analysis, I know that that stuff is in there. When I read it, and when I read it with a critical eye to make sure that not only the message that needed to be conveyed was in there, but that it was conveyed in a way that is understandable by people who don't have law enforcement or military experience. So make sure that you go there and give on Amazon. You got to log in. You give a rating. Let people know why they should buy the book, and let's try to get this book up to number 1. I believe, and I predict by the end of the 29th, after the second Hannity show, if not before that, I predict that book will be in the top 20. I'd like to say the top 10. It debuted at number 11 back in September. So I predict it's going to be back up to within the top 20. Potentially it could get up to number 1. And I think we can get it there and keep it there if we get the message out enough. And I'm not slowing down, folks. I'm trying my hardest to get, I'm conquering radio, trying my hardest to get back on television, don't be shy to leave a message with Fox News and let them know that they should stop this whatever it is where they got me on a do not book list to get me back on there. I have no problem. I will never go on CNN again. I don't care if it would even sell books. I'm not going on there. MSNBC, I would go on MSNBC even though they're just as liberal as CNN, if not more. But MSNBC doesn't hide it and doesn't lie about it. So I would go on MSNBC. I think I would reach pretty much the same audience. And although I may not agree with them politically, I'm not really. This book is not political, even though there's a couple things in there about stop and frisk and so on and so forth. But that's not the gist of what this book is about. It's not being critical of governments and people. It's being critical of our unawareness in this country. So let's hope I can get on some of these television shows, because I think that's the thing that we're missing out on here. Blogs and so on and so forth. I'm growing in that area, but we need to get on the TV. So don't be afraid to let them know. But it has to happen in bulk. Lots of people need to log on and either Twitter or Facebook and let Fox know that they'd like to see me back on there. So I don't even know why. So don't even ask me why I'm on a do not book list. I don't know why. We've tried to figure it out, and I don't know. I criticized one person in particular. Again, I'm not going to go into that. That's something that is, I talked a little bit about that on Friday's show. But regardless, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Okay, now let's move on to what I wanted to talk about. The first thing about the leftist. All right, I think that's the first thing I was going to talk about here. The leftist, instantly, when I was on Sean Hannity's radio show, first off, here's what I've realized. Maybe it's no mystery to you, but I think it is for a lot of people. I keep talking about this all the time, the CQRF, the importance of this thing we came up with called the Constitutional Quick Reaction Force. It's very important for people that are open-minded and that are free thinkers, right? Free thinkers that understand the Constitution. Let me just put it to you that way. It's very important that we all unite in this country and continue the dialogue. I talk about this all the time. But a good example of what we're fighting against is the leftists, the subversives, the communists, other people that subscribe to the anarchist, that leftist type of mentality. They are very well organized, and they have a system of what you would call bots or trolls here on Twitter, where what they do is they go after, like Sean Hannity. He can mention me in a quote, and they're not necessarily attacking me, but I get to see because I'm tagged in the quote. It goes on and on and on. It's the same narrative over and over again. It's you can tell that a lot of the people that are writing it, it's a fake profile, because they're using language. You can tell the people don't have a grasp on the American language, or they're just stupid, one of the two, and uneducated. But I think more often than not, these are made-up profiles. They probably stole somebody's picture or something, put it up there. And so what happens is that it's very it's full of disgusting lies and speeches and talk, saying stuff like Islam is not a problem in this country, that it's all that more white Christians are killing people in this country than anyone else. I don't know where they're coming from that, because obviously they've never done a good study into Christianity. Somebody who goes around and kills in the name of Christianity has in effect not subscribed to Christianity. So there's no fundamental basis for their killing if they're killing in the name of Christianity. Unless somebody's waging war on the country, unless somebody is trying to kill you and it's self-defense. But when you go out and do a mass killing, and because a person's white, they just assume that they're Christian, like the guy in Las Vegas who was an atheist and had extensive online searches of atheist stuff. And I think the guy, maybe I'm confusing him with the guy in Texas, but one of those two guys had done extensive research about atheist stuff. I mean, look, but these people, they don't care. They'll spit out the lie. They don't really care. And they're full of insults and just nastiness. But their whole process is to flood whatever comments, whatever tweets, whatever things that you're trying to say. They'll flood it with this with these vicious attacks and these narratives and try to get people spun up. That's the way they do this. So what's interesting about that, okay, so that's a technique that's been going on for a while. And it's disgusting, and you can see right through it. If you're not used to Twitter, especially Twitter, it doesn't happen as often on Facebook, but if you're not used to Twitter, you'll get very angry. It's almost akin to road rage, where you literally want to reach in there. You want to find these people, and you want to do something destructive, right? But first off, that's not going to do any good. Secondly, most of them are fake profiles. And third, the people who don't have a fake profile, they're so left, you couldn't beat sense into these people. So it doesn't do you any good to get angry about it. And the majority of people that have any sense will see right through this stuff. So, but what is interesting is Media Matters and Salon.com, which this guy I wrote just a little while ago, I tweeted him. I offered to give him a chance to come on the show tonight. I'll let him come on anytime this week if he wants to come on there. And his name is, let me pull it up here. I've already forgot it because he's a nothing person. His name is Charlie May, I believe. Yeah, this is him. He's, quite the feller. I guess this is him right here. Let's see if this even picks it up. Yeah, let's see. Probably not because I'll white it out. So, Mr. Charlie May, he writes for Salon. And it's interesting because Media Matters, a lot of times when I'm on Sean Hannity's radio show, maybe I'll play part of this for you. They will often attack me and say that I said this or I said that, and they'll take it completely out of context, but they're so stupid, right? They're so stupid that they'll literally write out the majority of the transcript, and then they'll post the audio version of it. And if you listen to that, or if you read what the transcript says, it doesn't match up to what they're saying in their headlines. But that's how stupid these people are. They'll spit out a headline that's a lie, and then when you go to the comment section, you see that these leftist weirdos, they don't even read the whole story. They read the headline, and they skip right down to the bottom, and then they leave comments of just visceral stuff, and so it's interesting. This guy, Charlie May, though, he's so stupid that he couldn't even come up with his own lie. He literally plagiarized Media Matters, their lie, in order to write his column. And then he goes and adds his own 2 cents in there as though he's some kind of expert on the reality of targeting and how to escape, evade, or fight and survive an attack. I guess he thinks that laying down is a good idea and that you should keep the lights on like they did in Vegas so that the attacker has an open and visual area to shoot to. I guess he feels, because he's criticizing me, because I said the women who got caught up in Harvey Weinstein or Matt Lauer, if they had pre-thought these things out, if they understood, which most people in Hollywood did understand, that Harvey Weinstein is a sexual predator, if they had really thought about it, they would have insisted that they bring their agent or bring somebody with them so they would never have to be alone with this individual. And that's no blame on the women, but it is, I'm pointing out when I say this, the epidemic of unawareness in this country, where we think that there's no alternatives, but there is. We just have to think about it. We have to look at it from the attacker's point of view. What would disarm a sexual predator? Nothing disarms a sexual predator more than somebody else standing next to you. Because once they key in on this person, they want to be alone with that person. They want to get that person alone so then they can do their dirty deeds. But if there's somebody else there with you, the chances are it's going to be mitigated. So according to Charlie May, who writes for Salon.com, who can't even write his own lines, he's got to plagiarize them from Media Matters, which lied to begin with in their headlines. According to both of those groups, telling women that they should be empowered and that they have the ability to forward think these things and then come up with mitigating circumstances to get around the sexual advances of these predators. Evidently, according to Charlie May and Salon.com and Media Matters, that I'm wrong for saying that women, they're saying that women shouldn't be empowered. They're saying that women shouldn't have a clue that there's an alternative. They're saying that people that go to concerts, they should be able to drink however much they want and lay on the ground and not have an idea, an understanding about escape, evade, or fighting. They, according to Charlie May and Salon.com and Media Matters, that's just stupid. So it's very interesting when I look at what they wrote in their articles, and then I'm going to read you what this 1-star review was on Amazon, and I put in to have that removed, so hopefully they'll remove that because it has nothing to do with the book. The review has nothing to do with the book. Hopefully that'll be removed. But let me pull up real quick, if you will indulge me. I'm going to pull up the interview that they posted of Sean Hannity and I, and let's see here. All I got to do is type my name in. Let's see. And then I'm going to let you listen to this, and I'm going to read the headline to you that they wrote, that Media Matters wrote, and that the guy on Salon.com. Let's see here. So let's listen to the audio first. Yep, hold on a second here. 1 second. Let me plug this in over here, which I can't. I freaking hate this this new, look, I love the new Apple, but I hate it at the same time because I can't plug stuff into it. Why would you take the phone jack off of this stupid thing? All right, hold on. Idiots. All righty. Here we go. Stand by. It's loading. Sort of. Yeah, I know. I don't understand why anybody else have that problem with these iPhones, that they took the iPhone, the regular jack out of a where you could use your regular headsets, and then they took that completely out. Come on now, let's load. Hold on. Stand by. All right, let's see here. We'll just do it like this. I've always got a backup, even in my backup and I'm backing up the backup.
If you have a gun pointed at your head, right. What you do, if you have a gun at your back, if you have a gun at your chest, yeah. If somebody pulls out a blade, which can be more deadly than a firearm in some instances, if somebody's, trained in the use of that blade, sure. You're telling people that they have got to understand what this is about for them and what they need to know and how they're going to deal with evil if it confronts them in life.
Exactly. Sean, if you go look at the animals on the plains of Africa.
Pointed at your head, what you do, if you have a gun at your back, if you have a gun at your chest,
yeah.
If somebody pulls out a blade, which can be more deadly than a firearm in some instances, if somebody's, trained in the use of that blade, sure. You're telling people that they have got to understand what this is about for them and what they need to know and how they're going to deal with evil if it confronts them in life.
Okay, so hold on. So before we get to the interview, this is what Media Matters wrote. This is what the gist is. Let's see if you can see this on the. Come on, there it goes. So it says, you can't really see it right here. It says, this is off of Media Matters. Hannity guest blames mass violence victims for their own deaths because they didn't have a plan. I'm not saying they're responsible for their own deaths. I'm saying that most likely they would be alive if they had a plan. Okay. Jonathan Gillum says that if Las Vegas victims didn't drink so much, they would have known the gunshots weren't fireworks. Now, that's not what I said, and you're going to hear that. So this is a misinterpretation, or this is a flat-out lie. I didn't say that. So you're going to see that, that they will write things close to the truth, but skew it just enough. Remember I talked about the apple versus banana? It's not apple versus banana. It's what type of apple. And if you don't know what apple you're looking at, like if you don't read this column or listen to this story, you're going to think that's what I said. But that's an absolute lie. I didn't say that. And you're going to hear it right now.
Exactly. Sean, if you go look at the animals on the plains of Africa, you have the lions, which are the predators, and you have, like, let's say the gazelle, who are prey. But the gazelles don't show up at the water hole completely clueless, looking at a cell phone with no idea where the bad guy's going to come from. They actually know exactly how the bad guy works, but they have to put themselves in that environment to get water. So they know how to act, not just react. They know where the bad guy's going to come from, and that's why they're constantly looking, observing, and then if something happens, they react, or with action, right? So action beats reaction. I know you hear that all the time. That is where people need to get in their mind.
The average person walking through the streets of New York City, they've got their headphones on or in their ears, or they're text walking, or they're talking on the phone. They have zero situational awareness.
And I've talked about this 100 times when I think really if we look at the shooting, the mass shooting in Vegas, as soon as it happened, what did people do? They assumed that it was fireworks instead of assuming it was an attack. And then, and this is, no, I'm not hitting on anybody for this because this is where we have to get away from this mindset, but the promoters, the sound people, the lighting people, what'd they do? They sat there and tried to figure it out, and they turned the lights on, and everybody laid down. They pretty much just presented a huge target, no different than if you go in a range and you have a static target.
Now, now you can see everybody.
So if they had understood the reality that we're in, maybe you wouldn't have as many drinks when you go there, but if you...
Okay. So that's what I said. If they had understood the reality of where they were going, this open area in the midst of all these high-rise hotels that have little to no security to determine what you're carrying up to your room, that we're under a constant threat, that Vegas has been under a constant threat. When I was an air marshal on September 11th, 2002, flying, one of the flights that I was on had a direct threat to it to Vegas. Vegas has been targeted for years and years and years. Had people realized that, visualize that, they would have understood that the potential for an attack is there, and maybe it's not wise to get completely flat-out drunk where one guy was standing up there flipping off the camera or flipping off the air like this right here while bullets are flying over his head. And other girls, you hear the video, they're so drunk that they're saying, no, that's nothing, and they can't even hardly walk. So I don't think I'm wrong in saying that if people realize where they're actually at in the environment they're actually in, that it might be smart not to drink so much. But never did I say that the victims, if the victims didn't drink so much, they would have known the gunshots weren't fireworks. What I'm saying, no, that's really not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is if they had done an analysis of where they were, they could have understood that the potential for sniper fire, the potential for a terrorist attack was there, and that maybe they wouldn't assume that it was fireworks because they would have the knowledge, the understanding, and the experience of all these things that have been going on for 17, 16 years, that they would understand that this is probably not fireworks. Drinking just helps you, not drinking as much, helps you identify those things a little bit better in the heat of the moment, whereas if you're drinking a lot, you're not going to make necessarily a rational decision. So anyway, let's keep going.
There's some popping over. Instead of saying that's probably fireworks, you say, I think that's gunshots. Let's keep the lights off and already have a plan. Not make it up there. Have a plan.
But it's where you sit in restaurants, for example. You know, I mean, there's certain little things that you can do to increase your safety odds that if something happens, or even a movie theater, for crying out loud.
Every place, I can guarantee you, the majority of places you go, take when the Ariana Grande concert was blown up, right? Had you done these parents had done any type of online surveillance of that area, they would have known that is the drop-off and pickup area. They should have told their kids, wait 10, 15 minutes, be the last ones out of the stadium. We'll get you down the road here. Don't come out this area. That's a critical area, and that's a critical time. Fortunately, they don't think like that, and those kids and those adults are dead now.
All right, quick.
Okay. Media Matters music. Okay, so listen to that last part there that I said about the Ariana Grande concert.
Fortunately, they don't think like.
See, and those of you that are reading the book, I talk about this this actual attack in the book. Now, listen to what I say about this.
And those kids and those adults here don't come out this area. That's a pickup area. They should. When the Ariana Grande concert was blown up, right? Had you done these parents had done any type of online surveillance of that area, they would have known that is the drop-off and pickup area. They should have told their kids, wait 10, 15 minutes, be the last ones out of the stadium. We'll get you down the road here. Don't come out this area. That's a critical area, and that's a critical time. Fortunately, they don't think like that, and those kids and those adults are dead now.
All right, quick.
Okay, So what you see there is that I'm saying that had the parents, in the same thing with the Vegas attack, had the parents, even teenagers, sat down and done threat assessments of these areas, it's not hard. Those of you that are reading this book, you're going to see it's not that hard to figure out the critical areas, the critical times, and the vulnerabilities that can be exploited and the avenues of approach for the attackers. It's not that difficult to figure it out. And so had they done that, and it's not faulting them. We've been taught learned helplessness in this country, and we have to get past that. That's why I wrote this book. So if people start to realize this, they can make the difference in their lives, and they'll actually survive. Now, this guy, Charlie May, he writes, of course, he plagiarizes that, and he says in his article, using the same soundbite and stuff, Sean Hannity guest blames Las Vegas victims for getting shot, which is, again, not true. And he says, Sean Hannity says situation awareness will solve the problem of mass violence and not gun control. And we never said that it would solve the problem of mass shooting. Mass shootings are really a product of mental issues and ideological issues more than they are the people's awareness. So you're not going to solve the problem of mass shooting with awareness, but what you are going to do is you're going to make the people safer and more likely to live because they will be able to avoid those areas or take action when it's time to react versus just having a simple response. So he goes on to say that, let's see, where is it here? He goes, so I make this in the book as well. I talk about the plains of Africa and how gazelles are very aware of the tactics, techniques, and procedures of the lions and the other predators. And because they're aware, it allows them to make their way to the watering hole and get a drink and live. They know where the attack might come from, the time of the day that it may occur. They know the vulnerabilities that they have. They're thirsty. They know when they're in that particular area, they're going to be very aware. And then they know the avenues of approach. They use their nose. They use their eyesight, their hearing, their understanding of past efforts and attacks by the predators. And then they already know in their mind, I'm going to do this. Instinctually if they see a predator, and then they all act instead of just reacting. They already have a kind of a plan of how they're going to act. So this guy, Charlie May, writer extraordinaire, writes that tries to make it sound as though I'm demeaning people when I say that they need to be more like the gazelles, because what I'm trying to say is, if this world is filled with predators and prey, you can't think of prey as being an insult to people. I mean, look, unless you are a sexual predator, you're going to be prey for that sexual predator. If you're a female or a young child or whatever it is that they're drawn to, if you are the middle class, you are prey for the predators in Washington, D.C. So it's not, you have to realize, no matter who we are, we're all going to fall into the line of prey at some point or another. You have to understand where you could be a target. And as I teach in the book, what the critical areas, the critical times, the vulnerabilities, the attacker's avenue approach, just like the gazelles on the plains of Africa. But see, the left, they don't care about this. So the whole thing about this, what disturbs me about this is that they're so organized that they go on to social media and they use their troll bots to go out there and say these narratives, and then these fake news people like Salon and Media Matters and CNN and all these other places, they go and they either create the narrative or they repeat the narrative. They may water it down a little bit on CNN, but by no means are they departing from this narrative. And these narratives are outright lies. They're complete lies. But they're so stupid, the people who write these things, that they don't even realize what they're saying, where they're condemning me for actually makes sense. They don't see that. So let me see if I can get something else here. It says, okay, here's an insult by this weirdo Charlie May. He says, Hannity talked with former, this comes off salon.com, with former Navy SEAL and Federal Air Marshal about, and also FBI agent, you forgot to put that in there, about how people can avoid terrorist attacks, but he seemed to blame the victims more than any perpetrators. While discussing the mass shooting in Las Vegas, the nation's deadliest on record, committed by a single person, Gillum argued that, and now here's where he says that that I'm bad for saying this, and he's trying to insult me here. Gillum's argued that people should have had a plan to avoid impending danger. And that's a bad thing? Was this guy? So it's a bad thing to have a plan how to escape, evade, and if you have to fight, fight. So you should just wake up and go into your daily life with no plan on how you're going to avoid being the prey, how you're going to act if you find yourself in an unmanageable situation where you can't get out of it, how you're going to mitigate those, how you're going to pre-think it out. According to this guy, Charlie May, who is too chicken to come on here and discuss this with me, even though he writes articles about me, he's too chicken to come on here. Evidently, according to him, you should just roll through life with no plan. You should just let life just happen. And I don't know. I don't feel good about that. I don't know what life Charlie lives in there. But Charlie may be stupid, and I think that's the case. Let me see. I just wrote him again on Twitter. He's not, unfortunately, he's not answering me. Let's see here. No Charlie May. Darn it. Let's see here. Come on, Charlie May. Don't let me down. No Charlie May. That's okay. I figured this. I figured that he wouldn't because, again, what these people do, the David Brock types, the Charlie May types, Media Matter, Salon, all these leftists, these trolls that come on Twitter and stuff, these are people that they're godless inside their soul. They drift through life. They're controlled by narratives. A lot of them are angry at their parents. They're rich kids. They get everything that they want, but listen, that's the problem. That's what I always say. You want to raise a good, disciplined kid? You want to raise a well-rounded, disciplined adult? Then discipline your child and don't give them everything that they want. That's the two keys to raising a adult that is disciplined. You have to... So here we got a troll that says, dude, you don't even believe in God yourself. Who is this guy? That's what I'm talking about. I love going back and forth with these trolls because the stuff that they say makes no sense. I mean, everything I do is to honor the God that created all the universe and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ that saved my soul. And gave me the knowledge and gifted me with the understanding through years of service and hard times and learning my craft. He gave me the knowledge that I could share with other people, not for my benefit, but for the benefit of his sheep, for the benefit of the people that he calls. And let's see, how can you say you believe in God by spewing the garbage that you spew? All right, I'm gonna play with this troll. All right, tell me what garbage I'm spewing. I don't even know what your name is. I can't tell what your name is though. But I'll play with this troll for a second, see if he has any thought. But this is what they do. They come on and they try to start an argument but look, I would have much more respect for these low-life, rich kids that stink most of the time, and have all the latest Apple stuff. Let's see, what craft? Begging your money on Periscope, that's a craft. I'm not begging for money. People support this show through donations. That happens with all kinds of shows, even liberal shows. They have GoFundMe pages set up where people can fund the show that they do on a nightly basis. Next. So anyway, if this guy had a real debate back and forth about topics and real things, which he doesn't, or she, can't tell which one it is, then we could have a real debate, but that's not what's going to happen. So let's see what comes up next. Let's see what they got. That guy couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. Come on, we're waiting, troll. I'll have my coffee. Let's see. By the way, how many people out there, let's see, I'm looking at you guys on Facebook now. I know Ann Elizabeth, I don't know, I know you. I don't know if you drink coffee. I know Nicole Cup drinks coffee because she's, her job requires that she drinks coffee. So how many of you get up in the mornings and drink coffee, or in the afternoon you have a second cup and then you nurse your coffee? How many coffee nursers do we have out there? Because I nurse a cup of coffee. I don't down it. I end up, this coffee is from like 3 o'clock in this afternoon, and I've been drinking it ever since, just on and off. Who else does that? Oh, my goodness. My good buddy Larry Cement is on here. Let's see who else. Yeah, I know you love coffee, Nicole. It's in your job description. But are you a nurser, or do you drink it all at once real fast? Charlene, you are a nurser of coffee. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention to the trolls over here. Not all trolls. Some people on Twitter aren't trolls. Norma says she nurses a pot of coffee until it's gone. 5-minute window. That's you have a 5-minute window to drink your coffee. See, I can't tell on Twitter who this is. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. When this is over with, I know I always say this, I'm going to put on here, if you're a nurser of your coffee, if you, what's the word I'm looking for here? If you sip your coffee all day, or if you guzzle it. What happened to our troll who was trying to ask questions? He disappeared all of a sudden. We're waiting for you. That's the only reason why I'm stopping. I was waiting on this troll. That would be fun. Nicole says, I'd put it in a... I don't get that. Sometimes I have to guzzle it. Oh, I got you. Right in my jugular. All right, I'm waiting. Not a troll. Okay, we're waiting on you. Let's see here. I'm not going to read what that comment was. What are you doing, Rico? All right, let's move on. No, somebody says I need glasses. I wish I could take up. So I have this iPad. I got these 2 iPads right here. One's for Facebook and one's for Twitter. And the words of what you say, what you type in are big, but your screen name on Twitter is tiny, but it's all the way over there. And so I can't, I've got glasses right here, but even if I put these on, they just make it too small on there. Well, maybe I could see it here. All right, hold on. These reading glasses. Do you take me seriously with these things? All right, I've really gone off the edge here about what we were supposed to talk about. Okay, this troll disappeared. We were rocking and rolling with this, but I made somebody's top 5 Navy SEALs on social media. Man, don't tell those guys that. I've never been in combat, as I was talking about last Friday, and there's nothing that pisses off these guys more than when somebody likes me for some strange reason. That just pisses them off. They hate that. Butler, I don't have glasses. These are reading glasses. Maybe I should do the Chuck Schumer and wear them down here like he does all the time, but he goes like, yeah. I like wearing them up here. I look I don't know, maybe more serious when I wear these. Okay, dog. My dog wants to say hello. Hold on. Come here. Come on up there. Say hello to everybody. So what do you think about the trolls, Rico? Somebody on one of these, somebody was trolling me the other day. Somebody who is an operator, doesn't like me. And so he had some people jumping on the bandwagon. And somebody called Rico a basset hound. You're not a basset hound, are you? If he had all his teeth, look, he doesn't have his teeth. See, they're all gone now. If he had his teeth, he would have bit that guy for calling him a basset hound, right? You want to get down? You want to sit up here for a minute? That's his signal. He wants to get down. Watch. All right, go. All right. Gosh, he's getting old. All right, so this show's going all over the place. But I know there's dog lovers on here. Hey, I love basset hounds too. My good friends who were my roommates, Lawrence and Maria, when I was down in Virginia Beach, they had 2 basset hounds. I love them. They are like, I'm telling you, you want people to know that you're at home, get basset hounds. You'll never have anybody rob your house ever. Okay, let's move on because I'm going to run out of time and I'm going to lose all these viewers. Just make sure, I'm going to say it one more time before the end of the show. If you bought a book on Amazon, go review it. I think you got to log on, and then you review the book. You know, it's 1 to 5 stars. Give it what give it your honest opinion. And if you think it's something that is going to benefit this country and empower the people, put it in there. Let people know the reality once you get it read. This book is not a difficult read. I tell you what is difficult is reading it for the audiobook and recording it. That is difficult. Because I got my studio in my apartment. You either get, even though it's somewhat soundproof, you get horns honking, Rico coughing, my chair squeaking, all kinds of stuff. And you got to stop and start and stop and start. It took like a month for me to do this, like a 3-hour book if you read it straight through. So Annie's dog is named Sancho. Is that Sancho, Annie? Holy cow. Right, yeah. You got 7 Australian Shepherds in your family. See, my old dog, Jessie, who passed away, unfortunately, that's her right there against the tree. There's Rico when he was young and in charge, and me without facial hair. Jessie was Australian Shepherd Jack Russell. So if you mix an Australian Shepherd and a Jack Russell, you get that. Smart. That dog was smarter than I am. Unbelievably smart. Okay, we're going to lose viewers here if I start going on a rant or a trail down talking about my dog. So let's do this. Again, I'm going to throw this out there. If any of these writers of these hit pieces from Media Matters or Salon.com, this Charlie May dude who is obviously a hack, not really, these people call themselves reporters. They're absolute, listen, I'll keep calling you whatever I want until you come on here and prove us otherwise. But obviously, he's not going to do that because they don't have the cojones to come on and actually stand up for the attack stuff that they write, the lies that they write, the way they quote people and take things out of context. They're not going to do that. These people lie for a living. That's what they do. So anyway, it's extended out there. You want to come on and have a debate? I'll bring you on. Bring it on, because I don't have anything to worry about. You know what? You could take somebody who's one of the worst public speakers, but if that person is speaking the truth and you give them the chance to speak, there's nothing that a liar like this Charlie May or Media Matters or Salon.com or these other CNN, there's nothing they can do. I'll tell you what you don't want to be like, though. Good Lord, I got to play this. Let's see here. Hold on. You don't want to be this guy. Let me find it here. Oh my goodness. This is painful to watch. But for all of you media wannabes, don't be this guy, okay? You got to be smarter than this. Let's see here.
I think a Muslim member of Congress should be allowed to be in Congress.
Now, remember, I'm not a supporter of CNN. I can't stand Jake Tapper. I think he's another liar that describes himself as a journalist, but he's really just an opinionated liberal. I don't even say liberal. I have friends who are liberal. This is opinionated leftist. He's a part of the propaganda machine. I don't give him any credit whatsoever. However, I've said for a long time, Roy Moore was Roy Moore's biggest enemy. His mouth, the way he ran his campaign, he's too controversial. If that's the way you're going to be, you don't want to hire people like this to be your spokesperson. If you think that you're going to go in the media and you're going to get on TV and people are going to bow down to your logic, you're wrong. They'll eat you up in a heartbeat. I've had them try to do it to me. Rick Unger, my good friend Rick Unger, who's mad at me, he taught me this lesson. Don't go on. He did it to me. He ate my lunch live on the radio one time when I was hosting and taught me a huge lesson. It was hard, man. I didn't talk to that guy for like 3 weeks, but watch this.
Why? Under what provision of the Constitution?
Because you have to swear on the Bible. When you are before, I had to do it. I'm an elected official 3 terms. I had to swear on the Bible.
Elected official 3 terms. Remember, I'm not giving this guy credit. I'm trying to teach everybody a lesson. Before you go out there and spew whatever logic you're trying to do, you better make sure that you got it down pat.
You have to swear on the Bible to be an elected official in the United States of America. He alleges that a Muslim cannot do that ethically, swearing on the Bible.
You don't actually have to swear on a Christian Bible. You can swear on anything, really. I don't know if you knew that. You can swear on a Jewish Bible.
Oh, no, I swore on the Bible. I've done it 3 times.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've picked a Bible, but the law is not that you have to swear on a Christian Bible. That is not the law. You don't know that? All right, Ted Crockett with
I don't know. I know that Donald Trump did it when we made him president.
Because he's Christian and he picked it. That's what he wanted to. That's what he wanted to swear in on. Ted Crockett with the More campaign. Good luck tonight. Thank you so much for being here. My panel will react.
I'm sure that didn't.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure that didn't hurt the campaign at all. What I mean, honestly, folks, what is wrong with people that they would do this? All right, I got to get this right back up here so we can talk about this. That wasn't what I was wanting to talk about, but let's go to the Rosenstein hearing, and let me start another block here. I'll start another block here, and hold on here. And we'll get to this hearing. Now, I'm going to skip through a lot of this. I'm going to pick and choose who I want to hear from. But I think it's important that we especially hear from Rod Rosenstein. And this nonsense that comes out of this guy's mouth is second only to Christopher Wray last week. Let's go to the A block, even though I should have already been in the A block, and then we'll discuss this. All right. I'm kind of all over the place on tonight's show. Our numbers aren't that great, so I know that the people that are on here are, actually, whoa, all of a sudden YouTube grew legs. Who knew? We got 38 people on YouTube. Since when do we have 38 people? Well, that's awesome. I'm happy to say we got more people we've ever had on YouTube than we've ever had. So that's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to keep monitoring you guys. Now I got to go do this again because I got YouTube over here. So thank you all for that. 39 people now. Bring it on YouTube. Okay, let's listen to Rod Rosenstein. I'm going to pull this over here so you guys can see him. This is off of, whose is this? Live on Air News. Okay.
The courts of appeal and the district courts and in state and territorial courts. We protect federal judges, manage federal prisons, review parole applications, oversee the bankruptcy system. We assist tribal governments, and we adjudicate immigration cases. We provide legal advice to the president and to every federal agency. We implement grant programs and support state and local law enforcement. We combat waste, fraud, and other misconduct involving employees and contractors. We resolve foreign claims and represent our government in international law enforcement forums. We collect, analyze, and disseminate law enforcement data, and we perform countless other important functions for the American people. Department of Justice employees are united by a shared understanding that our mission is to pursue justice, protect public safety, preserve government property, defend civil rights, and promote the rule of law.
Now, that last one I kind of got a little bit of a heartache with when it comes to this Department of Justice. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not really sure that he's telling the truth on that one. To preserve, let's see, what was it again? How do you say it? The rule of law.
Justice employees are united by a shared understanding that our mission is to pursue justice, protect public safety, preserve government property, defend civil rights, and promote the rule of law.
Promote the rule of law. Very interesting coming from this guy. He's the longest-standing attorney in the DOJ in history of the United States. He is the guy that this guy named Jeff Sessions, who was appointed as the – I got to fix this thing where my leg's on. Jeff Sessions is this guy. Nobody knows where he's at. He's a mysterious figure that was appointed as the Attorney General but has been nowhere to be seen. He pretty much came on board and turned over the entire DOJ to Rod Rosenstein, the longest-serving attorney, best friends with Comey, Mueller, and Christopher Wray, who's now the head of the director of the FBI, one of the dumbest I don't know if I want to use the word dumb, definitely most misinformed decisions that President Trump has made in his first year. I can't say dumb because the president has to go on advisors, and President Trump has never worked for the DOJ or in the FBI, so he doesn't realize what's happening. These people are perpetrating a complete fraud and making him think that these attorneys from the DOJ are upstanding individuals. They're not. They're not. They play the same game of ladder climbing and self-indulged, narcissistic entitlement that the rest of these people at the top, these SESers, Andrew McCabe, Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, Deputy Assistant Director Stroke, or whatever his name is, that was having sex with this attorney, having an affair. I don't know if he's married, but they keep saying he was having an affair. I guess you can have an affair and not be married. So all these different individuals at the top. I got to get this list. I was watching Lou Dobbs tonight. It was unbelievable. And I talked about this on Friday's show, how I think there's enough collusion. You see, to have a RICO charge, that's a racketeering charge, you're looking at a criminal organization and a criminal enterprise. In order to show that a group is functioning as a criminal enterprise, you have to show that, first of all, the group is associated and that they've committed a minimum of 2 crimes in furtherance of that criminal organization or that criminal enterprise. And I think it's clear to say, when you look all the way down to Lois Lerner, Barack Obama, Loretta Lynch, when you look at Eric Holder, James Comey, all the rest of the players in the Obama administration, when you look at all the political appointees at the top of the FBI, McCabe, Stroke, all these different people, I think I'm saying his name right, these attorneys at the DOJ, these lifelong executives in the DOJ, what we call senior executive service members, all these people have worked into collusion together. They all believe in the same ideology. Now, you can have an ideology and still stay neutral in your investigation, but it's apparent that that's not what's happened. And it's apparent that many of the people in this group have committed espionage, have obstructive justice, committed fraud to try to get Hillary Clinton to win the past election and either defame or destroy then candidate Trump and now President Trump. We've had evidence now that that the FBI agent that was removed recently from this investigation, who was in charge, this is Stroke, I think I'm saying his name right, who was in charge of the Hillary Clinton investigation, the one that made the decisions to allow, along with Rosenstein and these other people, to allow some other targets of the investigation to sit in the interview with Hillary Clinton when she was interviewed. I've never heard of that nonsense. Nobody took notes. Never heard of that happening. The people that allowed the unmasking of the president and the rest of these individuals in the campaign process, never heard of that happening the way it did. So all these people have done things, and when you read the text between this guy and the female attorney that he was DOJ attorney that was having sex with, what you see is that not only were they saying Trump is an idiot, but they were actually contemplating ways in a roundabout way to potentially change what was happening and put Clinton in a winning position. You see, that is more than and also when we look at the unmasking, when we look at the way Comey positioned himself and allowed certain things to happen in the investigation, when you see the cover-up of the tarmac meeting between Lynch and Bill Clinton, when you see how the FBI didn't properly investigate the removal of computers and classified equipment, or the destruction of classified equipment, all these BlackBerries, and also the use of private servers to move classified information, knowingly move it. You see all these violations, espionage, so on and so forth. All these people are working together with the same ideology. They all come from the same groups. The one, I think, I forgot what his name is, the guy who was the one of the attorneys that was advising Mueller, interviewed Fusion GPS. His wife worked for Fusion GPS, are now saying that potentially the FBI paid Fusion GPS all to get this dossier that was fake and made up. I think we're looking at a criminal enterprise that, if you looked at the lot of them and how they work together, if we had a special prosecutor that was real, we could actually look at this and actually have these people prosecuted under a RICO statute. Whether or not, I don't know that that'll ever happen, because as we can see, he's talking about the rule of law, yet there is no rule of law when it comes to the SESers and those executives that are at the top. So let's listen to a little bit more what he has to say.
The mission attracted me to law enforcement, but the people who carry out that mission.
Okay. This is another mistake that I've noticed when I was in the FBI, that attorneys in the DOJ consider themselves law enforcement. Attorney generals consider themselves law enforcement. They are not law enforcement. They are attorneys, right? There's prosecutors and then there's defense attorneys. Prosecutors quite often will do the same thing as defense attorneys. They will allow the evidence to make or break a case. When they know the potential of somebody being guilty or innocent is there, they'll ignore it, because the evidence, remember, they're going to trial to allow the evidence to show that somebody is guilty or innocent, and they will often allow that evidence to go forward, full well knowing in their intuition that that person is either guilty when the evidence is not able to prove it, or they're innocent when the evidence might otherwise point that they were guilty. I don't like when these attorneys call themselves law enforcement, because they're not. No, I don't care what people say or how they define it. In my opinion, having been law enforcement, they're not law enforcement. Law enforcement is held to a neutral stance. These people are not. These individuals, regardless of what their oath or their whatever standards that they work by, attorneys pretty much just follow the law so that they don't break the law, but they don't care about skirting it and breaking ethical boundaries. Let's go on.
Are what I treasure most about my job. With very few exceptions, they are honorable, principled, and trustworthy. America's federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies are more professional today than ever. Rigorous scrutiny by internal affairs offices and external oversight agencies has resulted in increased accountability and higher standards. When wrongdoing occurs...
I mean, how can this guy say this with a serious face? I'm being honest. How can he say, let me just replay that.
The mission attracted me to law enforcement, but the people who carry out that mission are what I treasure most about my job. With very few exceptions, they are honorable, principled, and trustworthy. America's federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies are more professional today than ever. Rigorous scrutiny by internal affairs offices and external oversight agencies has resulted in increased accountability and higher standards.
With the exception of the top of the DOJ and the FBI, there's no standards there. There's people who are not being held to a standard. The political appointees are not held to a standard, and the SESers, the senior executive service members, are not held to a standard. While other law enforcement officers, the street, pounders out there, the agents that are on the street, the cops that are on the street, we are held to that standard. There's tightening of those standards, but with these people, it's all over the place. And as you can see with him, or when Christopher Wray was up there, when Mueller was up there, when Comey was up there, they literally speak as though nothing will ever touch them. And I was talking to somebody today who's an FBI agent that's at the DOJ, and I said, how would you describe these people? You know the word he used? This is somebody who works at the DOJ. Shady. He said these SESers are shady, and he said that especially these attorneys from the DOJ, are very shady. And I wish I could sit down for 30 minutes or an hour with the president and really have an honest discussion about the reality of who these people are. And I think that he would see, hopefully he would entertain it and would see the reality of their ethics and their morals. It's not anywhere close to what his sorry, I'm trying to get this to reboot, of what his standards are as the president and the way that he says he's running things. It's nowhere close to that. So that's a huge wish, but man, it would be nice. If you haven't, let me say real quick, if you haven't shared this show on Facebook, share it right now, retweet it on Twitter, and then like my page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and then go subscribe to my page over here on YouTube, which we now have 41 people watching. This is crazy. YouTube is growing, finally. Okay, getting a little excited here. I'm starting to sweat. Okay, let's go on. I'm going to skip through here because I want to see some of the questioning here. I got to figure out where they are, who's questioning who.
If you write anything on your computer...
Yeah, we don't subscribe to commercials, so we do this right here. No commercials, no. I'm not getting paid for that. Oh, they're going to make me skip it. Okay, there you go.
It implicates national security.
Thank you. My time has expired. Chair recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Nadler, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. On Monday, Ranking Member Cummings and I wrote you a letter, sir, about the majority's ongoing investigation into the investigation of former Secretary Clinton. Without objection, I ask unanimous consent.
The ongoing investigation of the investigation. That's how bad our government is. They're having to investigate the investigations. We're in bad shape here in this government.
Good. Without objection, it will be made a part of the record.
Thank you. For the first part of our letter discusses the department's failure to provide the minority with access to the documents you've already provided to the majority. Yes or no, will you commit to ensuring that the minority, that we receive equal access to any materials you may provide to this committee in the future?
Yes, and I believe my understanding is that that information may have been provided to the
I'm not
ranking
interested
member.
in the past at this point. Thank you. That's what I wanted. I have a lot of questions. The majority of this committee, the White House, and President Trump's private attorneys have all called for the Department of Justice to appoint a new special counsel to investigate a number of Hillary Clinton-related matters. I think we could benefit from your experience in how the special counsel regulations work. The regulations say the Attorney General, or in your case, the Acting Attorney General, will appoint the special counsel when you determine that 1, criminal investigation of a person or matter is warranted, and 2, the investigation either presents a conflict of interest to the department or some other strong public interest requires you to appoint the special counsel. That first part, when he or she determines that criminal investigation of a person or matter is warranted, is that part of the regulations optional?
No, that isn't part of the regulations.
Thank you. So a criminal investigation must first be determined to be warranted before you can assign a special counsel to the matter?
Yes.
Thank you. And at the Department of Justice, a criminal investigation requires an initial assessment and a preliminary review of the evidence?
Correct.
Has that assessment been made with respect to former Director Comey's handling of the Hillary Clinton investigation?
I'm not going to comment.
They never do. They don't comment on any of this.
Investigations in the normal course. Before we made a determination, we would conduct an appropriate review.
And I assume your answer would be the same if I asked you about the FBI's interaction with Fusion GPS.
Would be the same for anything,
okay.
Yes.
Then presuming for a moment that the department has conducted an initial assessment and found no predicate for a criminal investigation, so in plain English, there is no ongoing criminal investigation. Under this presumption, could you or the Attorney General Sessions simply appoint a special counsel to look into these matters?
No.
As I said earlier, to my knowledge, there's been no credible factual or legal claim that anybody at the department violated any law by deciding not to bring charges or by attempting to meet with Fusion GPS. If that is true, if there is no underlying criminal investigation because there is insufficient evidence of a crime, in this or any other case, do the regulations permit you to appoint a special counsel?
No.
Okay, so what this guy's doing, I don't know anything about this guy. What he's doing is he's trying to make it sound as though there's no evidence to show that the Comey the Comey FBI or the DOJ has done anything wrong. That there should be another special counsel member or special counselor set up to investigate all these goings on, that it's not a problem that they contacted Fusion GPS, that there's not a problem with the way that Hillary Clinton was investigated, there's not a problem with what Comey did, even though he, I mean, let's start with the fact that he leaked information, government information. So, see, again, folks, I try to tell you the difference between the lies that this guy's spewing and a real lie is where I say, I'm going to use CNN's example because they screwed themselves with this example. Trying to make it sound like fake news is where I tell you this is a banana when it's really an apple. It's really that it's a different kind of apple. And he's not giving all the details about this stuff. And, of course, his constituents, leftists, are going to hear this and they're going to jump on the bandwagon with it. So I'm just going to skip forward away from this guy because this is, first of all, we don't have time. This is nonsense. Oy. Hold on.
Into any specific or to name names or to even talk about.
I'm wanting to get to Trey Gowdy if I can find him.
$1,000 to the Democrat run.
And of course, the memo by Attorney General Sessions that rescinds memos regarding the charging.
We got to listen to this because
president. Who
she's a wackadoo, this one.
Iron Curtain Against Freedom and committing cyber theft and Trade Center bombing in 1993, TWA 847 hijacking, Lindbergh kidnapping, Beltway snipers, Klansmen who killed 4 little girls in a 16th Street church in Birmingham. And of course, on the other hand, the Russians are known for shooting down a civilian airline, KAL-007, killing 269 passengers and crew, annexing Crimea and invading Ukraine, killing journalists, propping up Assad, the butcher of Damascus, building the Berlin Wall, imposing an Iron Curtain against freedom, and committing cyber theft and conspiring and doing a sabotage of the American presidential election in 2016. Perhaps our friends on the other side of the aisle can show more respect for the FBI and the DOJ, as so many of us do, including myself. So let me ask these questions, and with my limited...
I have no idea what she just said, and we were all now dumber for having heard it. I don't know what she just said.
I really need just a yes or no. Are you in the business of helping to secure the elections in 2016 18, and making sure that there is an infrastructure in the DOJ to help states have secure elections? Yes or no?
Yes.
That should not be the case. That is not and should not be the job of the FBI or the DOJ. That should not be their job. That should be the job of the Federal Election Committee. Or they should set up some other agency. How is this the job of the FBI? This makes no sense to me whatsoever. Well, first of all, listen. I've been the first one. I've been out there, and I want to know how many people feel about this the same way that I do. I remember voting in Arkansas when we go to the ballots, and you'd have this big, long paper ballot, and it'd have an arrow. I talked about this before on the show, and all you would do is fill in the middle part to show that this is what you're voting for. And then you would put that in there, and then it would be physically counted. Why did we ever get away from that? Because it's speedier, it's faster this way, because technology has improved. Technology doesn't always mean that things get better. I mean, look at right now, look at how dumb the American citizenry and across the world, how people have gotten because of smartphones. We have not gotten smarter. We have not. So we need to realize this, folks. And I don't think this is a job of the FBI. I just don't. All right.
Special Counsel Mueller, I'm reminded, some of us would say we read it in the history books, of the Saturday Night Massacre. I know you must be aware of it. During the meeting of May 8, 2017, with you, Sessions, and the President, the day before Comey was fired, what did you discuss regarding the FBI investigation?
Congresswoman, as I explained previously, I'm not going to be discussing anything related to that until I
can't listen to her anymore.
Thoughts? He said he was a...
Go ahead, lower. Okay, sorry about that.
He said he was a smart lawyer, a dedicated public...
I have not watched this. That's why I'm skimming through it.
Congressman, I believe over the years there have been presidents who have made comments about investigations, and it's simply not my responsibility to make that decision.
Well, do you think it's appropriate?
We will get to this eventually, but I got to check it all out.
Intelligence that has access to that information.
Any of your office?
Are others that are being reviewed, indicating may be relevant to your investigation.
Of unwelcome sexual advances.
Oh, this guy.
Right now, with the #2 person in the Justice Department before a committee and sworn to tell the truth, I think it's important to get your opinion on whether there are grounds for a criminal investigation or an ethics investigation against the President of the United States of America.
Again, something the FBI doesn't do.
For example, Rachel Crooks is one of the 16 women that we know of who have come forward. She said that President Trump, before he was president, quote, kissed me directly on the mouth. It was so inappropriate, he thought I was so insignificant that he could do that, end quote. Jill Harth, another one of the 16 women, said, quote, he groped me, he absolutely groped me, and he just slipped his hand there touching my private parts, end quote. Now, these are just 2 examples of unwelcome sexual advances. I think were he on the subway or in a restaurant, would not either or both of these incidents be enough to get him arrested?
Okay, here's the thing about this whole, about Congress and the way that they work. I said this about John Boehner a year or 2 ago before he retired. This guy has to read this. I do a live show here every night for well over an hour, and I do my research on stuff. I watch the news. I'll listen to what's going on. I have enough knowledge where I can have these debates, these arguments. But this guy can't even verbalize this without reading it and acting as though he's thinking it. His aides wrote this for him. He didn't write it.
Experience as the #2 most important law enforcement officer in the United States. But before you answer that,
so,
how about
and he's supposed to, Rod Rosenstein is there testifying in House Judiciary hearing on the Robert Mueller investigation. He's not there talking about this, but this is why nothing gets done here, because in this country we elect activists, we elect actors, we elect nefarious criminals, we elect elect sexual predators, and people like this guy who will spend years and years in a position in government, never get anything done, and just playing a role. And, you know, he's there for a reason. Rosenstein is there for a reason. And they're not even talking about that. They're not even talking about it. So we're not going to get to the bottom on whether or not Mueller should be fired or not. We're never going to get to the bottom of that because they don't do that. And you're right. Somebody on Twitter said that we elect reality TV stars. It's right.
Cases. Christian Anderson in an interview said, quote, "The person on my right, who unbeknownst to me at the time was Donald Trump, put their hand up my skirt. He did touch my vagina through my underwear," end quote. And Cassandra Cyril said, "He continually groped my ass and invited me to his hotel room," end quote. These are very serious allegations of crimes committed by the president, are they not? But before you answer the question,
he has to read that.
I think it's important to point out that these stories are corroborated by one of the most important witnesses of all. The president himself corroborates this. He told TV host Billy Bush when he was mic'd up for an interview with Entertainment Tonight, quote, "I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything." You continued, said, "Grab them by," and you know what he said. "You can do anything," end quote. Samantha Hovley said on national television that when she was a contestant in a beauty contest, Trump would come back unannounced to the dressing room. And she tells her story, and once again, we have audio tape of the president corroborating this account when he told Howard Stern, well, quote, "I'll tell you, the funny is that before a show, I'll go backstage and everyone's getting dressed and everything else, and you know, no men are anywhere, but I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner." And he went on.
So I will tell you this. I do know people who work in the pageant industry, and that happens a lot. Guys are going in and out of there, managers, designers, and they go in and out of there all the time, and people are getting dressed. I mean, I don't know. But the point is that I'm going to make, I'm not going to get into the argument of the allegations. I do find it ironic that all these people, we keep seeing this over and over again, where these people come out with these allegations right when it becomes politically, when they become political targets. I would have more respect for these women like the ones that went after Roy Moore. I haven't said whether or not I believe that they're right or wrong. I've actually said that I think Roy Moore is not believable to me, and that the way that if I had to do statement analysis on his answers, he kind of sounds guilty to me of doing something. But what bothers me is when women make these accusations, and then as soon as Roy Moore isn't elected, they just go away. You know, is your goal not to get Roy Moore elected? Is your goal justice? Do you want to finish him off? I mean, if you've really been harmed, Roy Moore is going to continue to get elected somewhere. These people are going to continue to get elected somewhere, but inevitably what they do is they'll make these complaints and then they just disappear. And again, I've been around real victims before. It's a lifelong struggle. They don't just let go of these things. And they don't just, say, okay, he didn't get elected, I'm going to go away now, that's it. That's not the way it works with real victims. So I have issue with all this stuff. Regardless of that right now, this wasn't the decision I was wanting to make. All this stuff that he's talking about, you know what's going to happen. He comes up here, and this is what they do in these hearings. They all come up there. They all say their statements. In this case, it has nothing to do with what is the hearing is about. He knows when Rod Rosenstein answers his question, he's going to say, I can't really make, I don't have an opinion on that, or that's not my job to make an opinion. Or he might say, well, if we have proof of something like that, we may bring a case out. But it has nothing to do with whether or not Robert Mueller should be fired, or whether or not the investigation that Robert Mueller is continuing is worth having. None of it. He's going to use his time, because he's on television, to go and spew all this stuff so that it can get repeated in the press, so that trolls can repeat it, and it has nothing to do with the hearing that they're actually there for. That's what they're doing here. So I'm not going to spend much more time looking for Trey Gowdy.
working on the investigation when the special counsel was appointed.
The Attorney General under President Obama said that he was the president's wingman.
Put these facts all.
So the legacy.
Your letter, as I mentioned, we did.
He met with Christopher
About this, and the national security community. I know many folks who were involved pre 9/11 and post 9/11 have spoken up about how important it is for us to have this tool, because we do not want to be in a position again, as we were at 9/11, when people said, why didn't the FBI put these facts all together and figure out about this threat before the terrorists attacked? So that's the basis, Congressman, and I can assure you that if it were easy to do with a warrant.
So what do we have here? We have
to make sure he gets it right.
Unanimously confirmed by every Republican and Democrat in Congress. Is his judgment impaired, or are his decisions suspect because he's a registered Republican?
No. We did consult with the Inspector General, already working on the investigation, so I don't know to what extent.
The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Washington, Ms. Jayapal, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Deputy Attorney Rosenstein, thank you for your service to the country at this.
All right, let's watch this one.
This for securing warrants at the FISA court to spy on Americans associated with the Trump campaign. Really, when you sum it all up, it boils down to those fundamental questions. Did you pay the guy who wrote it? And did you use what he wrote, disproven, discredited dossier paid for by the Clinton campaign? Did you use it to go get warrants to spy on Americans? That's what it comes down to. And you're the guy who can answer those questions. And yesterday I was convinced that the answer to those questions was probably yes. But today I'm even more convinced the answer is yes, based on the text messages we got to read early this morning. Mr. Rosenstein, you know Peter Strzok? You familiar with that name?
Yes, I'm familiar with the name. And
former deputy head of counterintelligence at the FBI? Peter Strzok, that one?
I don't know his precise title, but yes, he had a significant role in.
Peter Strzok ran the Clinton campaign, interviewed Mills, Abedin, Clinton, changed the exoneration letter from gross negligence to extreme carelessness. Peter Strzok, who ran the Russian investigation, interviewed Mike Flynn. Peter Strzok, selected by Mr. Mueller to be on his team. That Peter Strzok, we learned, had all these text messages. We got to read some of them early this morning. Now, as my colleagues have pointed out, some of them are, they're show he didn't like Trump. He and Miss Page are exchanging text messages back and forth, show they don't like the president. But that's nothing new. Everyone on Mueller's team, no one on Mueller's team likes Trump. We already knew that. But I want to focus on one in particular. One in particular. And this is a text message from Mr. Strzok to Miss Page, recalling a conversation and a meeting that took place in Andrew McCabe's office, Deputy Director of the FBI, recalling a meeting earlier. And Mr. Strzok says this: I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office. Then there's a break. Dash, it says that there's no way he gets elected. No way Trump gets elected. He says, I want to believe that. You said that in the meeting in Andrew McCabe's office. I want to believe that. But then he goes, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. Now, this goes to intent. He says, we can't take the risk. The people of this great country might elect Donald Trump president. We can't take this risk. This is Peter Strzok, head of counterintelligence at the FBI. This is Peter Strzok, who I think had a hand in that dossier that was all dressed up and taken to the FISA court. He's saying we can't take the risk. We have to do something about it. Now, don't forget the timeline here either, Mr. Rosenstein. Peter Strzok, January 10th, he's the guy who changes the exoneration letter from gross negligence, criminal standard, to extreme carelessness. July 2nd, he's the guy who sets in on the Clinton interview. July 5th, 2016, that's when Comey has the press conference and says, we're not going to prosecute. Clinton's okay, we're not going to prosecute. And then August 2016, we have this text message. The same month that the Russian investigation is opened at the FBI, August 2016. And my guess is that's the same month that the application was taken to the FISA court to get the warrants to spy on Americans. Using this dossier that the Clinton campaign paid for, Democrats paid for, fake news, all dressed up, taken to the court. So I got really just a couple basic questions. Because it seems to me if the answer to any of these, of those two questions, if the answer is yes, if you guys paid Christopher Steele at the same time the Democrats in the Clinton campaign were paying, or if you took the dossier, dressed it all up, took it to the FISA court, and used that as the basis to get warrants, and now we have intent in this text message saying that there's another text message, my colleague referenced it earlier, where Mr. Strzok says, I can protect our country at many levels. Says it with all the humility he could muster. I can protect our country at many levels. This guy thought he was Super Agent James Bond at the FBI. This is obvious. I'm afraid we can't take that risk. We can't. There's no way we can let the American people make Donald Trump the next president. I got to protect our country. This is unbelievable. And I'm here to tell you, Mr. Rosenstein, I think the public trust in this whole thing is gone. So it seems to me you got two things you can do. You're the guy in charge. You're the guy who picked Mueller. You're the guy who wrote the memo saying why he needed to fire Comey. You're the guy in charge. You could disband the Mueller special prosecutor, and you can do what we've all called for. Appoint a second special counsel to look into this, to look into Peter Strzok, Bruce Orr, everything else we've learned in the last several weeks.
Yes, Congressman, and I can assure you that I consider it very important to make sure the thorough review is done, and our Inspector General is doing a thorough review. That's how we found those text messages as part of that review.
You've given that answer like 15 times. Let me ask you this. Are you concerned, I mean, this is what a lot of Americans are believing right now, and I certainly do, that the Comey FBI and the Obama Justice Department worked with one campaign to go after the other campaign. That's what everything points to. Think about what we've learned in the last several weeks. We first learned they paid for the dossier, then we learned about Peter Strzok, and last week we learned about Bruce Orr and his wife Nellie. I mean, this is unbelievable. So what's it going to take to get a second special counsel to answer these questions and find out, was Peter Strzok really up to what I think he was?
I think it's important to understand, Congressman, we have an Inspector General who has 500 employees and a $100 million budget. And this is what he does. He investigates allegations of misconduct involving department employees. That review that he is conducting is what turned up those text messages. It will also involve interviews of those persons and of other witnesses.
And we're looking forward to his report, and we've met with Mr. Horowitz, and we're anxiously awaiting that report. But that doesn't dismiss the fact that the country thinks we need a second special counsel. 20 members of this committee, the Judiciary Committee with primary jurisdiction over the Justice Department, thinks we need a second special counsel. All kinds of senators think we need a special counsel. I mean, what fact pattern do you have to have? What kind of text message do you have to see before you say it's time for a second special counsel?
I want to assure you, Congressman, as I think the Attorney General explained, we take very seriously the concerns of 20 members of this committee or one member of this committee. But we have a responsibility to make an independent determination, and we will.
Thank the chair.
Now, that was the only, from what I gather, that we were listening to all this babble that was going on earlier, that was the only questioning that had anything to do with the real reason why this hearing was even convened. So, Mr. Jordan, Congressman Jordan, my hat's off to you. I applaud you for holding Mr. Rosenstein to the fire and asking the correct questions. What bothers me about this one, though, is that Rosenstein failed to answer these questions. And why wasn't the FBI just allowed to investigate Hillary Clinton to begin with? Why, if the president, as a candidate, and all these other individuals that they say were involved with Russian collusion, why wasn't the FBI just allowed to investigate that? That's what they're there for. If they're not going to put a special counsel in a position to investigate, special counsel is supposed to be somebody removed from the government. That's why Mueller doesn't make any sense, because he was my director 5 years ago when I was in the FBI. It doesn't make any sense to put him in there. Why would they not convene another special counsel to look at this upper echelon of the federal government from the outside? That's what I don't get about this. And his answers are creepy to me. The guy is creepy. I tell him to his face, he's creepy. I don't trust any of these people. McCabe, Mueller, Comey, Strzok, whatever his name is, any of these people at the top of the DOJ and the FBI. I don't trust them. They're all creepy. Yes, of course. You're saying on Twitter, saying that it's because he's guilty. That's why, of course. Of course that's why. Of course, there's somebody coming up saying Trump won't win the election. I don't know what election you're talking about. Trump already won the election. I don't know what... because an FBI agent is allowed to have political opinion. Yes, you're right. I was an FBI agent. We're allowed to have political opinions. What you're not allowed to do, though, is to show intent that you're going to go out and sway an election or disrupt an election in order to, or based on your opinion and your ideology. You can't do that as an FBI agent. Your job is to investigate stuff from a neutral standpoint and let the evidence show you where the case develops, and then go seek out the use your techniques that you have to your disposal in order to find more evidence. That's your job as an FBI agent, not to say this is what I believe and I'm going to make it so. That's not what you do as an FBI agent. I was an FBI agent. I'm quite sure that the person who just wrote that was not an FBI agent. So that's the case. That's why, look, you could be liberal or conservative. You can be liberal or conservative. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of agents and cops and all people all around this country that are liberal. But the fact is, you cannot, if you're in a position, just like if you think somebody's guilty, like you think a child molester is guilty, according to our Constitution, if you don't have the evidence to convict them, you can't go out there and manufacture the evidence. You can't. You can't go out and change the judge's opinion or the jury's opinion and say, listen, we want you all to say this. You can't do that. You have to let the evidence and the facts guide you. That's called law. And what these individuals have been guilty of is not law. It's criminal behavior. They've been breaking the law. That's the way that works. Might have to have a second book now. And we may have to explain some of this stuff to the American people. Okay, listen, let's see. What else did I have on here? I think that's about it. We've been on for a while. Thank you all for holding on. There's a lot of people who have been holding on to this. Let's see here. The Constitution and Bureau of Integrity standards are there to keep you in check. Apparently they're. Apparently not. Keep me in check as an agent, but not keeping those people in check. That's the problem. They're not being kept in check. If you think that all these Trump haters just happened to end up at the top all by them, just a randomness just ended up there, you are wrong. Randomness would have meant that good agents worked their way to the top, and they got there to the top, and there's different opinions, different ideologies, but they all focus on the truth and where the evidence takes them. This is not random. This is handpicked people who have the same ideologies, people that have contributed to the Clinton campaign, people that have worked for the Clinton campaign, people that have worked for Fusion GPS, all these different individuals that have shown their intent is to crush the president, President Trump, or at that point was to try to keep him from getting elected. All that's there. It's all there. That is criminal behavior. All right. Let's do this. I'm going to go to the Truth Zone. We'll talk more about this week. Tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah, we'll talk more about it. Let's go to the Truth Zone now. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right. All right, so here's the deal. First off, I want to thank YouTube for allowing more people than 20 to come on. I'm watching you guys. So this is the thing. What I want everybody to understand is, if I thought my president was guilty of something, I'm going to stand up and say he's guilty. Listen, I don't subscribe to making politicians heroes. I don't subscribe to making politicians into larger-than-life superheroes. I don't. They're not. The majority of politicians that go to Washington, D.C. are failures. Government is a failure. Not the way the system of government was set up by our founding fathers, but what it's evolved into. It's a failure. And I want the American people to realize this. And listen to me, take this seriously. You cannot, whether you're a troll watching this or a liberal or conservative that is very right-leaning, you've got to let go of left and right. You've got to let go of conservative and liberal. You have to realize their sole job in Washington, D.C. is to manage the country. It's not to make sure that special interests are work out. It's not. They're not there to make sure that one ideology gets over on the other ideology. Their sole job in Washington, D.C. is to make sure that government is for the people, by the people, to make sure that what we need in national security and public safety is taken care of. They're there to make sure that the budget is properly managed, to make sure that law and order are enforced, and to make sure that the Constitution is enforced and upheld. That's their job. We have three branches: the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branch. By and large, all failures. None of it works anymore. Why? As I've said on here over and over, because there's two private companies running it all. The Republican and the Democratic parties. Those are private companies. And they have manipulated this entire government. And they've taken it away so that they can simply control the masses, so that they can continue to further the division in this country. I haven't, to tell you the truth, there's many different reasons why this could be. Some may have an ideological commitment. Others may have a monetary commitment. Others may, be inspired by the American people, but by and large, those people are few and far between, and they're weighed down by the criminality and the subversion that's going on in this country. But either way, remember this as I close this show out tonight. Long show. Remember this. You cannot worship these people. You cannot put them on a pedestal and think that they're superheroes. They don't fix things. They don't make it work out. They get up there, they become rich, they play the game, and by and large, they are subservient to their two political parties. That's it. I've actually wasted a lot of your time tonight playing that nonsense. But you have to take that away. You can't make these people into heroes. They're not. You are. And I'm Jonathan Gillum. That's Rico. I'll see you tomorrow night around 8 p.m. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. Don't forget to go, and if you have not gotten the book, I'm going to put this back up here. Wrong scroll. There it is. Make sure that you go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and order the book. It's out now. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. If you have to have it tonight or tomorrow, go to Barnes & Noble. I believe Books A Million has it as well. It's on the shelf. You can get a copy and share it with your friends. Tell everybody about it. If you ordered it, go and on Amazon, go and write a review. This book is spinning, and I'm going to tell you, folks, By the end of this month, I want it to be #1 in the bestseller list, and I want it to stay there and stay there. By and large, typically, kids' books are #1 on the top of these bestseller lists, and they sit there. But it is time for the American people to be empowered. It is time for a tool of the American people to use to empower themselves, to identify critical areas, critical assets, the vulnerabilities that can be exploited by bad people, and the attacker's avenue of approach. It's time for you to learn how to identify those so that you can be safer. If you're a woman, so that you can learn how to avoid sexual predators in the workplace. If you're a child or a teenager, to learn how to escape from pedophiles and avoid those circumstances. If you are going to a big event and you're a family or an individual, you can learn how to mitigate the circumstances so you won't find yourself in a terrorist attack. And if you do, you'll know how to act. This book is important. Go order it. If you've ordered it, order 5 more and give those out to your churches, to your congressmen, to your senators, to the president. Send them to the president. Get this book out, folks. Stand with me and I'll stand with you. And remember, the truth has arrived. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.